Hello!
Hello!
It's me, Gavin, and today I am going to do my Ghibli-a-thon wrap up. If you've seen my 46-minute long vlog, then you will know that I just sort of ran out of time to talk about a lot of the books that I read during the week. Yeah, I just had a lot to say. I had a lot to say. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to get to talk about all of them in detail. So I also don't want to put you guys through a long vlog, so here is my wrap up. I'm also wearing my Studio Ghibli shirt. You can see it when I am all the way over here. So yeah, thought I'd get that one out for you. So for Ghibli-thon, I attempted to read 6 books. Did I do it? Did I fuck? I ended up reading 4.5. And that was due to the fact that I had work, I had other things going on. And I chose like some longer books. And only one book that was like 100 pages. So I'd set myself up to fail a long time ago. So the first book that I completed was Howls Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones, and this was for Pompoko Read a Group Book. And I gave this one 5 stars. I really enjoyed this one. If you're new here, I will give you a very brief description of this. This is about a young girl named Sophie who is cursed by the Witch of the Waste to live as an old woman. And Sophie goes to seek her fortune now that she has to sort of shed her old life and put it in the past. She ends up running into the wizard Howl, and Howl is known for taking young girls' hearts. So she ends up being his cleaning lady, and there are some magical adventures and things like that. So that was your brief little synopsis. I absolutely love the House Moon Castle movie, so I just absolutely adored this book. I loved Sophie as a character, I loved Howl, I loved Calcifer, I loved Michael. It was just, I really enjoyed these characters, and it was different to the movie as well. It started out pretty similar, but then it diverged into something else, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the ride. And I know a lot of people really enjoy this book. I was extremely happy that I wasn't disappointed in this. I know Jade loves it, and yeah, I give this one 5 stars. I have my Ghibli-a-thon spread in my bullet journal. I forgot what it was called there. And yeah, this is now redundant because I didn't actually finish November 9 by Colleen Hoover, The Wind Rises. So I ended up doubling up with Ponyo, and that was to read a book related to the sea. And so I read The Mermaid by Christina Henry, and I doubled this one up for both the adult romance and the sea-related book. This is my first Christina Henry book, and I gave this 3 stars. I did like it, but I was kind of bored for most of it, not gonna lie. I love the concept of it. As I mentioned before, I love the fact that P.T. Barnum is seeking a real-life mermaid, and Amelia, who is the main character, is a mermaid. So it's that kind of like P.T. Barnum's known for being a con man, but he's actually stumbled across something that's very real. So I enjoyed that concept. It just wasn't really like dark or twisted, or there is like a dark moment, but it wasn't really something that kept my interest all the way through. I felt it was very repetitive. There was this talk of Amelia being P.T. Barnum's mermaid and her terms and conditions, and her sort of transition into being put up on display and things like that. So like it is interesting, but fundamentally I was a little bored by this by the end. And I did read this in the one day, so it is very easy and great to get through. But yeah, I was a little disappointed that this was my first Christina Henry book. But I am reading Alice this month, so hopefully that is better. And then for Kikis delivery service, I had to read a childhood favourite, and for that one I picked The Worst Witch by Jill Murphy. And I'm sure you're sick of me banging on about this. It is about Mildred Hubble, a new witch at Cackle's Academy. This was like Harry Potter before Harry Potter became a thing. So it was like a school for witches, and I loved the TV show growing up. But I also hadn't read this in like 20 years, so I was really worried about going back into it. But you know what? Just like reading it, even as an adult, with the mindset of the fact that this is a children's book, this is a really great children's book. It's very great, I think, for reluctant readers, and it is very fast paced, actually. I'm pretty sure 4 or 5 episodes of the original TV show is like this entire book, and it's like 100 pages long. So yeah, I read this in 35 minutes, and I really enjoyed it. I loved the part where Mildred gets into trouble, as usual, during a broom demonstration for like some high wizards and witches, and Ethel, her arch nemesis, aka Draco Malfoy, sort of places a hex on the broom, and that causes her to fall off and land on the wizard. And she runs away. She stumbles across a group of evil witches, and the evil witches are plotting to take over Cackle's Academy and turn everybody into frogs. And that was my favourite episode in the TV show. I'm sure it was split into 2 parts, but that is like 3 chapters in this, and it just like blew like straight through it. It was great. I just loved revisiting it. Like 20 years later, it's still just as addictive as it was back then. So if you've never read The Worst Witch, even though you might be an adult, I would recommend it. I still had a blast. And I gave it 5 stars. So in my vlog, this is when I started to talk less about the books that I'd read because it was getting on a bit. And so the next book that I had to read was For Whisper of the Heart, which was to read a bookworm main character. And so obviously I chose Matilda by Roald Dahl. And I still gave this one 5 stars. And I hadn't read it since I was a child as well. The reason I gave it 5 stars is because I'm honouring my childhood self. I loved it as a kid, and I still really enjoy it now. It's still a great book. Very fantastically written. I love Roald Dahl's works. It is about Matilda, who was born into this family who don't appreciate her, who are quite mean a lot of the time to her. She wants to read. She is such a bookworm. She is so intelligent for her age. She's 4 years old, and it's like, wow, like, just incredible. And then she gets enrolled into a new school where she meets Miss Honey, who is a really nice teacher, but she also meets Miss Trunchbull, who is the principal, and she is the meanest lady you could ever meet. Yeah, I still enjoyed the story. I still enjoyed the progression of the story, and seeing Matilda sort of like get this inner strength to face up to grown-ups who are being mean to her. I really enjoy that aspect of it. I also think that it's like not the best to teach children with, in terms of getting your own back on grown-ups. I think you can really tell that Roald Dahl doesn't like adults because even Miss Honey, who is like the nicest adult in this, she's very passive. She just sort of lets children get abused. And yeah, I mean, she does protest. You know, when Miss Trunchbull is in her classroom taking a class, she does protest, but she doesn't physically do anything, which I know she really can't because she's very timid. When you're faced with Miss Trunchbull, I mean, wow. Like, I don't think she could have done anything, but, like, aren't there, like, police in this? Like, you know, I mean, an adult, fair enough if the children can't tell their parents because their parents won't believe them. I can believe that. But the fact that Miss Honey lets her kids get, you know, like, picked up by the hair or by the ears, and like, it's so, like, detailed as well. Like, one of the kids is a young boy, gets picked up, and he squeals or something. He's squealing like a pig, and like that image in my mind, like if a kid did that, I would cry. Miss Honey just lets it happen. It's just like, what? I loved her so much more in the movie. In fact, I love the movie more than this. To be honest, like, I feel like this is one of those rare instances where I prefer the movie. But yeah, I still enjoyed it, but it's very problematic. But yeah, I'm still going to continue reading his works because I still enjoy him, and I still loved it as a child, so yeah. And then for Princess Mononoke, which was my final prompt, it was to read a fierce female male character book. And I chose The Beast Player by Nohoko Yahashi for this one, even though I hadn't read it yet, so I don't know if Ellen, the main character, is fierce or feminist, like, but it, you know, after reading this, like, yeah, she's pretty kick-ass. And I didn't actually get to finish this during the week. I finished it on Monday, like the day after the readathon ended. Yeah, that's not good enough, is it? Yeah, I was kicking myself over that, but once I uploaded my vlog, you guys let me know that don't beat yourself up, Gavin. 4.5 books is still pretty good for a week, and you guys are right. It's probably the most I've read in 1 week, I think. I'm still pretty happy with that, and I still managed to finish this the day after. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. What I really enjoyed about this is that I could picture it as a Studio Ghibli movie, and whenever I read, I always, like, vision everything in my head. I've got quite an overactive imagination. I could see it, like, animated by Studio Ghibli in the style of, like, Spirited Away and, I would say, like, Narcissa as well. What I love about this book is that it really goes in depth with sort of like how humans treat animals, and like how how different ones that are in captivity are to the ones in the wild. As a like huge animal lover and animal supporter, you know, I've been to Cambodia, I've worked in an elephant sanctuary before, I've been to South Africa. You know, I've seen how, like, incredible, like, animals are and how dependent they are on us to not treat them like shit. Really, I've seen some, like, horrible, horrible things happen to these animals, and, like, not firsthand, but, you know, see it on the news when you hear about it, and, you know, poachers and little fuckers like that. So I did really love this book for the fact that Ellen she pays attention to one of the royal beasts, because Ellen, she ends up being tasked with, well, no, she doesn't even get tasked. She asks to observe this royal beast who isn't eaten. And what I love about that part is that she really pays attention to this animal, and she really pays attention to its habits and what it needs, rather than what us as humans want it to do, you know? So I love that aspect of this book. It was pretty whimsical. I enjoyed the hell out of it. The only gripe I guess I have with this is that it just went a bit too backstory for me. Like 3 chapters in, after already establishing Ellen as a character, we go like hundreds of years in the past or whatever to learn more about the kingdom. Like that just kind of like felt a bit, you know, out of nowhere for me. And I'm not really a big fan on too much exposition in the middle of something. I don't mind it when it's at the start, you know, to set the scene, or maybe at the very end in like an appendix. I don't know, but like just like bang, like not even like bang in the middle of the story, but like pretty much at the start of the story, but like after things have already happened. It's hard to explain, but yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of that. But I think this is the first translated book I've ever read, because this was Japanese and it's been translated into English. So that's pretty awesome. I love that. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I would reread it again. But yeah, I got 338 pages into it before the readathon ended. So I didn't actually finish it for Ghibli-a-thon, but I wanted to talk about it now. So these were the 4.5 books that I finished for Ghibli-a-thon. I had such a blast. It was a fantastic readathon. I really have to give major props to the hosts for hosting it, because I really, really enjoyed it. And it gave me an excuse to get my Studio Ghibli t-shirt out again. I love it. So hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm glad I could speak a little bit more about those and just wrap up the week, so that I didn't cut too much into my vlog, because then it would have been even longer. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.